尊敬的 Seidman 教授以及各位线上抗癌乐园的朋友们，大家晚上好！感谢大家在百忙之中抽出时间来参加我们 More Health 爱医传递举办的线上讲座。我是今天的直播主持李兴哲。如大家所知 ，More Health 爱医传递是一家总部位于美国硅谷，专注于重大疾病、疑难杂症和罕见病的互联网远程医疗服务机构。公司自成立以来，依托自主研发的具有 FDA 认证以及严格遵守美国 HIPAA 医疗信息安全法案的远程会诊平台，携手美国中美顶级医生，帮助更多中国患者获得更优质的医疗服务。长期以来，乳腺癌一直是威胁女性健康的重大疾病。中国国家癌症中心发布的2017年中国肿瘤的现状和趋势报告显示，乳腺癌的发病率位列女性恶性肿瘤之首。我国乳腺癌患者诊断的平均年龄是45到55岁，比西方女性年龄年轻了10岁左右，而且年轻的患者越来越多，年龄低于35岁的患者约占到10%到15%，而对于中国乳腺癌患者的及时诊断与有效治疗，成为解决这一严峻挑战的关键。为此 ，More Health 爱医传递在今天专门举办了这场以晚期乳腺癌治疗为主题的直播讲座，并很荣幸地邀请到美国乳腺癌专家、美国纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心的 Andrew Seidman 教授与中国医生和患者分享他的经验。Seidman 博士是一名肿瘤内科学家，有着超过33年的临床治疗经验，在早期和晚期的乳腺癌治疗方面都有专业的医学知识和丰富的经验。他的研究兴趣包括对转移性乳腺癌的新型化疗药物和靶向制剂。Seidman 医生曾经在多个顶尖医学期刊发表过120多篇学术文章或同行评议文章，涉及课题包括乳腺癌的脑转移、乳腺癌的 HER2 基因表达的特征和预后因素，还有帕图匹龙在乳腺癌脑转移的2期临床实验等等。在此，我们感谢淄博抗癌乐园抗癌之家协调此次直播讲座。下面有请抗癌之家的李英委员长简单讲两句。
我们这个爱医传递的朋友们，还有这个 Seidman 教授，那么你们都很辛苦，真的，我代表我们抗癌之家，所有的癌症病友，还有家属，还有这些工作人员，向你们表示真诚的感谢。那么我们淄博抗癌健身乐园是去年2月份开始在我们建立的这个抗癌之家微信群开始做微课直播讲座的。那么今年开始呢，我们又和远在美国的这个爱医传递医疗服务机构合作，我们一起邀请这个在国际上比较知名的这些肿瘤治疗专家，然后为我们抗癌之家的朋友们做有关这个癌症治疗、癌症前沿的一些最新的资讯，这些等等这些讲座，我就是非常感谢各位专家以及这个爱医传递的朋友们，感谢你们对抗癌之家、对中国国内的癌症患者的这个一份爱心奉献和支持。那么通过我们的交流呢，我们想把这个抗癌之家这个微课讲座和这个我们这个爱医传递这个医疗服务机构呢，我们做一个长期的合作，然后呢就是依托我们这边的一些资源，更好的为国内的一些患者服务。同时呢，在我们抗癌之家微信群里还有我们的微信公众号等等方面呢，我们将对这个爱医传递这个医疗服务机构也是想这个做一下力所能及的宣传，让更多的朋友能够知道我们的这个服务机构，同时呢能知道我们的一个就是国内外的一些这个资源吧，然后能够让更多的朋友在这里边受益。那么现在呢是美国凌晨的3点多钟，而在这个时间呢，就是让大家为我们抗癌之家微信群的朋友们做讲座呢，就真的是太辛苦大家，也辛苦专家 同时也辛苦我们爱医传递的工作人员，衷心的感谢你们。
好的，谢谢李院长的发言。同时，我们也感谢北京抗癌乐园各个分园对我们这次直播的支持。那我们下面就把时间交给 Seidman 教授，开始今天的讲座。All right, Dr. Seidman, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. So it's a pleasure to be with you this morning, and hopefully the information that I will share will indeed, as the title of this presentation reflects, give you reasons to be optimistic about the future for breast cancer treatment.
好的，Seidman医生向大家说早上好，然后是很感谢大家今天邀请他来进行这次讲座，然后他非常希望通过这次讲座能传递正如这次讲座标题所带来的信息一样，就是晚期乳腺癌我们是有值得乐观对待它的原因。
Okay, let's see, can I advance the next slide? Thank you very much. So indeed, we know that breast cancer is a major public health problem. These are some statistics from China from several years ago, and certainly you can see that there are other cancers, certainly such as lung cancers and cancers of the gastrointestinal tract that are more common in incidence and cause greater mortality than breast cancer, but breast cancer continues to be a growing threat to the health of women globally.
这一张我们就可以看到是中国的癌症发病率。我们知道，在中国的话，像是肺癌啊，还有胃癌啊，这些胃肠道癌之类的，都会比乳腺癌可能发病率和致死率稍微高一点。但是乳腺癌呢，持续在多年以来都是在发病率逐渐上升，并且对中国女性的健康造成了很大的威胁。
And I don't seem to be able to advance the slide myself, so I'll just say next slide. Thank you. So just for comparison, here in the United States, breast cancer is actually the second leading cause of cancer death amongst women. It's the second highest reason for death, only second to lung cancer.
我们可以看到，在美国的话，乳腺癌的发病率呢是整体发病率在女性里是第一高的，然后致死率的话是仅次于肺癌的。
So if we can move to the next slide. Fortunately, the good news is that while the incidence of breast cancer has been steady, there has been a decline in the mortality rate from breast cancer over the last almost 20 years, as you can see by the pink curve in the United States, largely due to early detection, improvements in medical management, surgical management, and radiotherapeutic management of patients with breast cancer.
那么虽然发病率是在逐年稳步上升的，但是很可喜的是，在过去将近20年的时间内，在美国我们可以看到这条粉色的曲线上显示，乳腺癌的死亡率呢是降低了36%左右。这主要是归功于早期早检测，然后同时多学科治疗，包括手术、化疗还有放疗的进展。
Thank you. Because of these advances, it's estimated that nearly 1/4 million women have been able to avoid death from breast cancer, again, because of the improvements in surgical treatment, medical treatment, and advances in radiation oncology.
然后正是由于这些技术的进展，我们可以看到将近有25万名的乳腺癌患者是在这20年间避免了死亡。
So we know that there are many possible drug or systemic therapies that we can consider for patients with breast cancer, and I've tried to summarize them in this slide. Chemotherapy is associated with improvements in response rate, progression-free survival, and overall survival in patients with hormone receptor negative breast cancer, is used for patients with visceral metastasis and endocrine therapy resistant breast cancer. Endocrine therapy, HER2 targeted therapy, and at the bottom of the slide, bone specific agents have all resulted in improved outcomes, and we'll look at each of these in turn during the course of this presentation.
然后这里我们就是可以看到，对于晚期乳腺癌的治疗方案，我们有多种多样的选择，其中包括化疗是针对ER 还有 PR 阴性，还有出现内脏转移，以及对于内分泌治疗产生抵抗的患者。内分泌治疗对于 ER 和 PR 就是雌激素、受激素受体是阳性的患者是非常有效的。同时，以赫赛汀为主的这些HER2 的抑制剂对于 HER2 阳性的患者是非常有效，包括贝法单抗和后面一些针对骨转移的治疗，我们在后面都会详细讨论。
Despite the fact that all of these agents are effective, they all happen to have side effects and toxicities. With endocrine therapy, patients may experience hot flashes or gynecologic symptoms. With HER2 targeted therapies, such as a drug known as trastuzumab, there's a risk of heart dysfunction. With other agents such as lapatinib that targets HER2, diarrhea and rash. And you can see with the list of chemotherapeutic agents, anthracyclines and taxanes, the list goes on and can include neuropathy, an effect on the small nerve endings in the hands and the feet, other skin toxicities, bone marrow suppression. So certainly we are striving to find treatments that not only will help to fight the cancer, but will be less toxic to normal cells in the body.
这张幻灯片上我们可以看到，对于这些多种多样的治疗方式，虽然都比较有效，但是同时带来了很多系统性的毒性。比如说内分泌治疗有可能造成潮热一些妇科症状，然后像赫赛汀的话，我们知道可以造成心脏功能障碍。拉帕替尼是另一种的 HER2 抑制剂，也可能造成腹泻和皮疹。对于其他的细胞毒性的制剂，就是化疗药物呢，我们可以看到副作用多种多样，包括心肌病，然后包括外周神经炎和一些手足症状、皮疹、骨髓移植等等。所以我们的目标就是想开发出更有效的治疗方式，同时带来更低的治疗毒性。
So we can see that when patients have metastatic breast cancer, there are many considerations for optimal systemic therapy or drug therapy. We think about the tumor biology as reflected by hormone receptor status, HER2 status, and increasingly other molecular markers, and we'll come back to that a little bit later. Prior therapy can inform the next best treatment, what patients have received before and what they have not received before can help direct current therapy. The aggressiveness of the cancer, the sites of metastasis, for example, or the extent of metastasis. At any given moment, one might consider the feasibility of localized therapies, such as surgery, radiotherapy to prevent fractures, to manage brain metastases. And then, of course, the patient does not come at the bottom of the list. The patient's own preferences, her degree of symptoms, if any, her other comorbidities or medical conditions can all influence the choice of systemic therapy.
那么在考虑进行系统治疗的时候，我们要非常考虑诸多的因素来选择针对患者的个性化治疗。这里面首先我们考虑肿瘤本身的生物学特性，就是它的激素受体的程度，激素受体的情况和以 HER2 的阳性与否，然后还要考虑患者之前接受过的治疗，包括之前是否接受了内分泌的治疗、生物治疗或者是化疗。那么也要考虑肿瘤本身的侵袭性，要考虑患者是多久出现了复发，包括患者出现远端转移到底是在哪些部位，是否有内脏的器官的转移，还有最后就是要考虑一下患者是否适合接受局部的一些治疗，比如说局部的手术、放疗，来帮助全身的系统性治疗。当然最重要的是我们要考虑患者本人的一些意愿，包括患者整体的症状的一个情况，还有患者本身的一些其他的基础病史。
So we certainly consider the disease characteristics, as I mentioned, and we also consider, I think if you advance the slide, you'll see on the other side, patient characteristics as well. And all of these factors can contribute to the choice of optimal treatment. Now, there are guidelines that physicians can look to. Doctors who are treating many types of cancers are increasingly challenged with selecting the best therapy for one specific type of cancer. So it's good that we have established guidelines to help physicians, but some might describe them as not being specific enough or somewhat vague, and we certainly have many different treatment options.
然后我们这里可以看到患者本身的情况，就是说每一个晚期乳腺癌呢都是一个非常具有抑制性的一个疾病，就是说它可能涉及到的因素多种多样。我们考虑到疾病的负担、之前接受过的治疗还有这个疾病本身的生物学特性，就是它的受体阳性程度。那么这时候同时综合考虑患者本人的一些情况，那么我们加起来之后做选择的时候就会有非常多的挑战。这个对于美国的临床医生来说，好的一点就是他们有这个临床指南可以根据临床指南做出相关的决定，但是临床指南我们有些时候也是觉得仍然不够明确，而现在目前可以选择的治疗方案是多种多样的，所以这是给我们带来一些挑战。
So one traditional way of making decisions is for the oncologist to number one, understand the literature that informs the treatment, to have a good understanding of the patient's medical record and history, to perform tests, including laboratory evaluations to best assess that patient, and often to perform imaging studies to help direct therapy. Then the physician will typically go to the computer and enter a treatment order, ultimately, which leads to a decision on how to treat that patient.
那么传统上来讲呢，怎么样做出医疗决策，就是由一个有经验的医生去看一下相关的文献，然后同时通过相关的文献呢了解到目前的治疗选择，然后再根据患者本身的病例加上相关的辅助检查、实验室检查和影像学检查，然后在电脑里面输入相关的药物治疗的方案，然后在这时候产生一个最后的治疗选择。
So at Memorial Sloan Kettering and increasingly in other hospitals, we are now trying to see if computers can actually help physicians make better decisions for patients. Working together with the IBM Watson team, we have developed a decision support tool that will allow artificial intelligence and machine learning to help the doctor make the best decision for a given patient. This is actually something that has been introduced in several hospitals in China and throughout Asia.
那么一个未来模式的医疗决策流程呢，是由我们纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心和 IBM 的 Watson 医生联合开发的一套系统，就是通过在电脑里面 Watson 机器人 Watson 系统人工智能来够帮助医生进行治疗决策的选择，通过人工智能和机器学习的方式来帮助医生做出一个更适合患者的治疗选择。这个目前在中国其实 Watson 医生已经走入了一些医院。
So just very briefly, you can see that this is a project that involves close collaboration between physicians at Memorial Sloan Kettering and computer scientists at IBM. We run actual cases and into Watson, and we consider the existing treatment guidelines. We consider our own treatment approaches. We employ natural language processing to understand the medical record, and our treatment options are certainly informed by the literature as well as FDA guidance. But ultimately, this process of machine learning, we believe, will allow physicians to make much more patient-specific and better decisions in the future.
这就是一个具体的细节示意图，就是在一开始的时候是由医生和 IBM 的工作人员共同输入患者的信息，然后这个时候通过机器来进行自然语言的处理，通过这个自然语言的处理来识别目前相关的已经存在的治疗指南和这个 患者本身的这个病史，然后把它整合起来之后，同时要参考 FDA 批准的这个治疗准则和一些相关药物的情况，然后最后形成一个治疗决策。这个是我们目前正在进行训练的一个情况。
So it's useful, I think, to have some understanding of what factors might predict for a worse outcome for patients with breast cancer. So certainly patients who have, estrogen receptor, estrogen receptor negative breast cancer can have shorter overall survival. Patients who have visceral dominant disease, that is cancer in liver and lungs, may have a shorter overall survival than patients who do not. It is also related to the extent of disease, the number of different organ sites that might be involved. If a patient's had prior early stage breast cancer, it's related to the amount of time from that diagnosis until recurrence. And if patients have had prior therapy for early breast cancer, all of these factors will increase the risk of succumbing from breast cancer early. And these are patients for whom there are extensive clinical trials ongoing to improve their outcomes.
那么这张图表是显示了与转移性乳腺癌预后较差相关的一些因素。那么可以看到以下因素可能可能造成患者的生存期相对较短。这些比较差的预后因素包括是ER 就是雌激素受体阴性的一个乳腺癌，然后同时是有些乳腺癌会有比较多的内脏器官的转移，包括像是肺部或者肝脏的转移，这也是比较差的预后因素。还有患者比如说有3处以上的疾病的转移，这也是一个较差的预后因素。最后就是患者他之前乳腺癌的复发的时间较短，还有是之前接受过早期乳腺癌手术之后的辅助化疗，这些加在一起都是一些预后较差的相关因素。
We also can categorize breast cancer based on the biology of the disease. So most patients with breast cancer will have positive hormone receptor status and negative HER2 status, and we'll talk a little bit more about what HER2 is. These are what we might describe as luminal A breast cancer patients, and they account for at least half of all breast cancers. The behavior tends to be slower growing, involving primarily bone and soft tissue, sometimes for many years. And for these patients, endocrine therapy or hormonal therapy is central. And then there are some other newer agents that enhance the endocrine therapy, which we'll also talk about. Some patients may have both hormone receptors and HER2 receptors in their cancer, and we'll talk about treatment approaches for those patients. Then there are patients who have HER2 positive hormone receptor negative breast cancer, where chemotherapy and HER2 targeted therapies can have an important role in improving outcomes. We'll also talk about triple negative breast cancers, a group of patients who primarily depend upon chemotherapy currently, but there are some new approaches, and I'll also mention some of those, including the role of a class of agents called PARP inhibitors, and those are relevant specifically for patients who have genetic risk factors and germline gene mutations associated with their breast cancer.
那么这张图表就是显示一下针对不同的乳腺癌分子亚型，我们目前考虑的主要的治疗选择和它可能的临床病程大概有5类。第一类就是 HER2 阳性第一类是这个激素受体阳性，然后 HER2 是阴性的，就是说是雌激素孕激素受体阳性，HER2 是阴性，然后这类患者能占到大概50%左右，比较常见一些。然后临床病程比较牵延，然后主要的治疗方式包括内分泌治疗，然后同时通过一些像是 CDK46 的抑制剂或者是 mTOR 抑制剂，就是像是伊维莫斯之类的药物，可以增强内分泌抑制剂的疗效。然后第二类的患者是HER2 阳性，然后同时雌激素孕激素受体也有可能是阳性的，然后这一类的话主要是 进展稍微快一点，同时是需要HER2 抑制剂和内分泌抑制剂连用。第三类患者是往往是 HER2 阳性，然后本身荷尔蒙受体是阴性的，这一类的患者要依赖这个 HER2 的抑制剂进行治疗。第四类患者是三阴性乳腺癌，三阴性乳腺癌我们知道它的侵袭性是非常强的，患者一般是要依靠化疗来进行控制。然后最后一种是有 BRCA1 或者 BRCA2 的基因突变的患者，这类患者的话传统上是依靠化疗来进行治疗，最近开始有一些叫PARP 就是 PARP 抑制剂一些新药对于就这一类基因突变的患者治疗产生比较好的疗效。
So what I'm showing you on this slide are very broad guidelines that have been developed by the NCCN, or the National Comprehensive Cancer Center Network. And you can see at the top that the primary decision on treating patients with metastatic breast cancer is driven by whether or not hormone receptors are present. ER positive, PR positive stands for estrogen receptor and progesterone receptor, or negative. And then you can see the next major decision point is whether or not HER2 is positive. And we'll talk again about what HER2 is. So it's important that every breast cancer be tested at least for these biomarkers, hormone receptors and HER2, to define initial therapy.
那么这张图表上面显示的是美国国家癌症网络指南，癌症网络的治疗指南中针对转移性乳腺癌患者的治疗流程。那么可以看到，这个治疗流程的主要的选择节点就是关键在于患者是否是有内分泌受体的阳性，就是雌激素、孕激素受体是否是阳性。在这个之后，我们再要考虑患者是否是 HER2 阳性。所以我们推荐每一位患者都要至少进行雌激素、孕激素和 HER2 表达程度阳性与否的测定。
So one of the important ways to improve cancer treatment is to have an understanding about the biochemical pathways that regulate cell growth. So what I'm showing you here is the cell cycle, which involves a growth phase and a synthesis phase, and a phase where the cells divide called mitosis. And this cell cycle is highly regulated by different molecules. And I think I'll stop there and let you explain that piece before I move on.
这里面我们可能讲到一些比较基础科学上的细节，就是根据肿瘤生长与发生相关，我们可以知道细胞周期的调控和失调对肿瘤的生长发生有很重要的因素。这里边显示的是细胞周期的四个分期，其中包括合成期、生长期和中间的分裂期，然后这些都是有很多相关的细胞因子进行调节的。
So there is a new class of agents that are known as cyclin-dependent kinase 4/6 inhibitors, or CDK4/6 inhibitors, that block a critical pathway that's involved in allowing the cells to progress into the S phase. CDK4/6 inhibitors have been shown to improve the effectiveness of hormonal therapy or anti-estrogen therapy by blocking the cyclin D1 CDK4/6 complex, which prevents phosphorylation or activation of a tumor suppressor gene. And I'll show you in the next few slides how this has improved outcomes for patients with ER positive, HER2 negative breast cancer.
那么这张幻灯片就是主要介绍了一下 CDK4/6 抑制剂相关的一个作用机制。CDK4/6呢，我们知道它是一个与这个 cyclin 叫细胞周期素 D1 相结合的一个分子复合体。然后如果我们使用这一类药物，可以把它抑制的话，可以抑制这个细胞周期中的磷酸化和它细胞周期进展到合成期的一个过程，从而停止肿瘤细胞的增殖。然后这一类药物就是 CDK4/6 抑制剂，已经目前被证明在雌激素受体阳性的患者中和内分泌治疗连用，能够提高生存率。
So there are now 3 agents or drugs in this class, and their chemical structures are shown here. we have the agent known as palbociclib, which was the first agent in this class of drugs, as well as a drug called ribociclib, which was the second, and finally the agent abemaciclib. All three of these drugs have received regulatory approval in the United States and in many other countries, and have significantly prolonged the time it takes for metastatic breast cancer to progress when given in combination with endocrine therapy.
那么这里我们显示了有3种那个最新被美国 FDA 批准的 CDK4/6抑制剂。我们知道，首先最先被批准的是帕博西尼，然后后来有了瑞博西尼，然后最新今年可能早一些被批准的是波马西尼。这3类药物都已经在美国被批准上市，并用于雌激素受体阳性的患者与内分泌治疗联用。
As one example, in a large trial, which is known as the Paloma-2 study, when palbociclib was added to an aromatase inhibitor agent known as letrozole, the time it took for cancer to progress was improved from 14.5 months to 24.8 months. So an almost doubling of the time to progression, and this was a highly significant result. A greater proportion of patients benefited overall from this treatment than if they received letrozole just with a placebo. So this is one of a number of trials showing the advantage for adding this agent to hormonal therapy.
那么这里就是举例其中一个临床试验，名字叫做 Paloma-2， 然后这里面显示的是把这个 PAL 指的是帕博西尼，然后把它加到LET 是来曲唑，就是把它和来曲唑这个内分泌治疗连用的时候，相比只使用来曲唑，它能够使得患者的无进展生存期从14个月增长到24个月，几乎是有翻倍了，然后这个响应率以及临床受益率都是大大的获得了提升。
So all of these agents, palbociclib and ribociclib and abemaciclib, have been studied in have been studied in combination with an aromatase inhibitor or the anti-estrogen agent known as fulvestrant. Abemaciclib has been also studied and shown to have clinical benefit even by itself as monotherapy without combining it with other agents. The benefits, as I've mentioned, have been remarkably consistent in improving progression-free survival in a first-line setting, that is the first treatment for hormone receptor positive, HER2 negative metastatic breast cancer. Importantly, it is also relevant for premenopausal women. In that situation, those patients should have their ovarian function suppressed so that they are more like postmenopausal women. Importantly, these are oral agents. These are not intravenous drugs, and they can be taken at home. The main side effects, which tend to be fairly mild, are a reduction in the white blood cell count and also diarrhea.
那么总结一下，就是关于 CDK4/6 抑制剂的临床实验的结果证实，这3种 CDK4/6 抑制剂呢和芳香酶抑制剂或者是福维斯群联合使用都能对患者提到帮助。然后其中波马西林这个药物呢，实际上是作为单药使用也是能够得到获益的。然后同时是这些3种药物每一种药物和内分泌治疗联合使用的时候，都能够在激素受体阳性 HER2 阴性的转移性乳腺癌患者中作为一线治疗，提高他们的无进展生存期。然后同时这对于一些绝经前的妇女来说也是有可以使用的情况，尤其是在这些绝经前妇女乳腺癌患者在使用卵巢抑制剂的时候，这些 CDK4/6 抑制剂能够起到更好的作用。然后值得提出的是，这些 CDK4/6 抑制剂它们是口服药物， 而不是像化疗一样需要静脉注射。它们主要的治疗相关副作用包括白细胞降低和像波马西林的话有可能造成一些腹泻。
So when patients have both the estrogen receptor as well as the HER2 receptor on the surface of their cancer cells, there's the potential to target both ER and HER2. This is a trial conducted many years ago comparing an aromatase inhibitor alone, anastrozole, to the use of an aromatase inhibitor plus the HER2 targeted antibody, trastuzumab or Herceptin. And this trial showed an improvement in progression-free survival as well as response rate, favoring the combined approach of giving both anti-estrogen and anti-HER2 therapy. And I think just serves as an example of how we can thoughtfully target relevant drivers of cancer cell growth and behavior.
那么下面就是我们转移的下一线来讲一下这些内分泌受体阳性，就是雌激素孕激素受体阳性，同时 HER2 也是阳性的患者，我们要怎么进行治疗？是否要考虑内分泌治疗和 HER2 治疗联用？然后这个是大概多年以前的一个临床实验，显示的是在阿那曲唑就是一个内分泌治疗药物和加上这个曲唑珠单抗的时候，对比阿那曲唑单药治疗，我们可以看到无进展生存期从2个半月左右达到了4.8个月，就是也是几乎是翻倍，然后这个总体的应答率也是从7%到达了20%。这里是一个早期的临床实验，只是给出了一个设想，我们大概应该是可以同时进行内分泌治疗和 HER2 抑制剂的治疗。
In a second trial, the same drug, letrozole, an aromatase inhibitor, was studied in combination with another HER2-targeted drug called lapatinib, which is an oral inhibitor of the enzymatic portion of the HER2 receptor. And this trial, importantly, involved 219 patients whose tumors were HER2 positive.
然后这一个下面的临床实验的结果，我们显示的是用来曲唑和拉帕替尼就是一个口服的 HER2 抑制剂，然后来联合对转移性乳腺癌进行治疗的结果。
And the next slide shows that there indeed was a clinical benefit. You can see that for patients with HER2 positive and hormone receptor positive breast cancer who received letrozole alone, the time it took for cancer to progress was fairly short, only 3 months, and this was improved to 8.2 months when it was combined with the drug lapatinib. So this is another example where targeting the targets, in this case ER and HER2, improved patient outcome.
那么这张图表我们可以看到，从结果上来看，在单药使用来曲唑治疗的时候，这类患者无进展生存期是中位数是3个月左右。但如果加上拉帕替尼，就是口服 HER2 抑制剂的时候，它的无进展生存期的中位数是达到了8.2个月，是有明显的延长。
This drawing comes from a very nice review article from my colleague, Dr. Clifford Hudis, who was for many years the chief of the breast medicine service at Memorial Sloan Kettering. Currently is the chief executive officer and president of the American Society of Medical Oncology. In this cartoon, you can see the HER2 receptor, which is part of the cell membrane. There's a portion of this receptor that's outside of the cell membrane, a portion that's within the cell membrane, and then there's a portion that's inside of the cell. And this cartoon shows that the antibodies, such as trastuzumab or Herceptin, bind to this receptor, and that's one mechanism of inhibiting its activity. And it was actually a clinical trial conducted almost 20 years ago that showed that the ability to block growth by binding to the HER2 receptor with trastuzumab significantly improved progression-free, as well as overall survival for women with breast cancer. So HER2 targeted therapy, which we'll talk about a little bit more, has been a major advance and reason for optimism for patients who have this biological subtype.
那么这张图表是显示的是在讲一下关于 HER2 阳性的转移性乳腺癌患者，对于他的治疗来说，曲妥珠单抗也就是赫赛汀是一个非常关键的治疗成分。然后这篇文章是在2007年的新英格兰医学杂志上面得到发表，也是吉内斯隆凯特琳癌症中心的 Hades 教授当时研究的。我们可以首先在左边看一下这个 HER2 到底是一个什么情况。HER2 我们这里显示它是一个跨膜的一个蛋白，就是它有一个细胞内和细胞外同时有一个跨膜的片段。然后曲妥珠单抗它就是一个人源性的一个单抗，然后可以和这个细胞膜外的部分结合，来通过抑制它的一个聚合情况来导致它的下游的失活。然后我们可以看到，把曲妥珠单抗和化疗连用的时候，可以大大提高患者的总生存期和无进展生存期。
So just quickly to review, in the initial studies, when Herceptin was added to chemotherapy, H stands for Herceptin, we saw that time to progression was improved, and again, overall survival was improved by several months, and this motivated further studies of HER2 targeted therapies.
这张就是通过具体的数据来说明一下，再加上这个 H 就是赫赛汀之后，在化疗基础上添加赫赛汀可以延长无进展的生存期3到5个月左右，而总生存期是得到了提高在5到8个月左右。然后基于此，后面我们开发了更多的针对 HER2 的受体抑制剂。
We now have yet another antibody called pertuzumab, which inhibits the dimerization of HER2 and HER3, and this inhibition is a very important way to further improve the effects of HER2 targeted therapy. So this is pertuzumab, which binds to a different portion of the HER2 receptor, and this is trastuzumab, which binds to another portion of the HER2 receptor, but the dual blockade makes growth even more inhibited than either antibody alone.
正如前面所讲，我们最近又开发出了其他的抗 HER2 的这个抑制剂，然后其中有一个是帕妥珠单抗，它和曲妥珠单抗的机制略为不同，它是主要是抑制HER2 和 HER3， 就是这两个不同的 HER 的亚型的一个结合，双聚体结合。然后 HER2 的话，它是结合另一个部位来抑制这个下游的激酶的一个激活，所以两药连用的时候，整体的疗效是得到一定的提高。
So this concept was tested in a large randomized trial in patients with HER2 positive metastatic breast cancer. And this work was reported 6 years ago by Dr. Jose Baselga, my colleague here at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And it tested whether the combination of both antibodies could improve outcomes compared to simply trastuzumab alone when combined with a very effective chemotherapy drug known as docetaxel.
然后这个就是当年很有名的一个 Cleopatra 临床试验的一个结果，也是我们纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心的 Baselga 教授领导的一个临床试验。当时对比的是在使用曲妥珠单抗单药治疗和后面根据在这个曲妥珠单抗之后加上多西他赛，对比这样一个治疗方案，在这个基础上增加帕妥珠单抗，看看治疗对患者是否有更多的益处。
So we can see that the addition of pertuzumab to trastuzumab improved the time it took for cancer to progress by 6.3 months.
然后这样我们可以看到，对于在曲妥珠单抗治疗上加上帕妥珠单抗之后，可 可以显示无进展生存期从12个月提高到了18个月。
But I think the most striking result is shown in this slide. The use of pertuzumab improved overall survival by over 1 year, almost 1.5 years. And this is really a breakthrough result for any new drug to be introduced for breast cancer. To see this magnitude of benefit was unexpected and certainly very exciting.
这张图表显示的是更新的，就是在长期随访之后，在50个月之后，发现中位总生存期在使用了曲头珠单抗和帕头珠单抗的双药联合之后，能够提高生存期达到16个月左右。这个在当时是非常轰动一时的结果，这个也导致了后来帕头珠单抗和曲头珠单抗的双药联合基本是成为了一线治疗的一个首选。Dr. Seidman, so I think next step, when I proceed to the next slides, I'll just change it automatically to the pen form, so you don't have to change it yourself.
Okay.
Let's see, does it work? Yeah, now it's the pen. You can just start drawing on the slides yourself now.
Okay. So here we can see the side effects associated with pertuzumab, and it was largely well tolerated, with the exception of a greater proportion of patients developing fever with a low white blood cell count, and a greater proportion of patients who had diarrhea. Otherwise, the two treatment arms were well tolerated.
然后在添加了帕头珠单抗之后和曲头珠单抗连用的时候，可能是副作用基本是跟使用曲头珠单抗单药使用的时候差不太多，唯一显著有差别的是可能出现腹泻的情况会高一点，还有就是出现力缺发热的情况会稍微高一点，但总体来说耐受性是良好。
So I mentioned the agent lapatinib earlier, and lapatinib is an agent that works on the HER2 receptor in a different part of the receptor. It inhibits the enzymatic activity within the cell, and it has also been studied in combination with the antibody trastuzumab.
然后下面我们来显示另一种与 HER2 抑制剂，就是曲头珠单抗联用的一个药物，就是拉帕替尼。我们前面简单提到了拉帕替尼是一个口服的 HER2 抑制剂，它的结合部位呢实际上是在细胞液里边，就是这个 HER2 跨膜蛋白的激酶的一个这个地方。
So the dual inhibition of HER2 by targeting the extracellular portion and the intracellular portion has now also been studied in randomized trials.
那么现在就是把拉帕替尼和曲头珠单抗联用，一个是抑制细胞膜外的这个 HER2 的成分，一个是抑制细胞膜内的这个细胞激酶的 HER2 的一个成分，然后双药联用的时候，在临床实验中也是得到了验证。
This trial is one such study which showed that the combination of letrozole and trastuzumab improved overall survival for patients with HER2 positive metastatic breast cancer when compared to letrozole alone. So now we've seen two examples where using two agents to inhibit HER2 signaling can improve patient outcomes.
然后这张图上我们可以看到，在使用拉帕替尼和曲头珠单抗联用的时候，生存期对比单药使用拉帕替尼从9.5个月达到了14个月，这也是显示双药联用对于 HER2 的双重抑制有更好的作用。
One question that has long been asked is whether after patients have cancer that progresses while on trastuzumab, whether or not they should continue trastuzumab. And I'll just briefly summarize these three studies and mention that indeed it does seem to be valuable to continue to target HER2 through many different lines of therapy in the setting of metastatic breast cancer.
那么我们之前经常会遇到的一个问题，就是之前患者使用曲头珠单抗治疗之后，如果出现疾病进展，我们应该怎么办？那么我们这里总结了3个临床实验，都是通过在出现使用曲头珠单抗 疾病进展之后，如果继续使用曲突族单抗，或者是换到其他的 HER2 抑制剂，比如说拉帕替尼之类的，都是对这个患者的生存期有一定的优势。
So the next agent that I'd like to talk about before we finish up with HER2 positive breast cancer is a very novel agent called TDM1 or adotrastuzumab emtansine, which I will show you more about on the next slide.
然后下面我们就是想着重谈一下对于 HER2 阳性受体的患者，还有另一种比较新的治疗方案，就是叫 TDM1， 这是曲唑族单抗和一种化疗药物的偶联。
So this picture shows the monoclonal antibody known as trastuzumab or Herceptin, which in this diagram is bound to a very potent chemotherapeutic agent known as DM1 through a linking molecule. So this is what we would call an antibody-drug conjugate. In a sense, it's a smart bomb in that it uses the antibody to deliver chemotherapy mostly to where it needs to be, inside the cancer cell.
这张图上就是给大家展示一下这个 TDM1 的这个结构，就是它其实主要就是曲唑族单抗的抗体通过一个化学偶联，然后和一个非常有效的化疗药物叫 DM1 的药物联合在一起，所以这个就是一个抗体化疗偶联药物，是非常精确的，可以通过曲唑族单抗来把这个化疗传送到肿瘤组织里面。
So in a large randomized trial known as the Amelia Trial, this drug TDM1, also known as Kadcyla, was compared to a standard regimen in patients with HER2 positive breast cancer to see if it could improve progression-free or overall survival.
这张图表我们上面讲的就是这关于 TDM1 这个药物的临床试验，它主要是对比了 TDM1 和一个标准的，比如说是拉帕替尼这个口服 HER2 抑制剂和卡贝他滨化疗联用的时候，这两种治疗方案哪一种可以带来更高的生存期？
And as you can see, indeed, there was an improvement in overall survival favoring this antibody-drug conjugate, TDM1, compared to a standard regimen involving an oral chemotherapy and lapatinib. So there was clearly an advantage for this novel antibody-drug conjugate in extending overall survival.
这里我们可以看到中位生存期的方面，可以看到明显的是使用 TDM1 这个药物的话，中位总生存期可以达到30个月左右，而使用后中位生存期是25个月左右，所以可以看到 TDM1 是它的总生存期上方面的一个优势。
I do want to be respectful of our time, so I may move more quickly through some of the next slides that are critical. I do want to mention here that diarrhea and the skin reaction involving the hands and the feet were more common with the control arm in this trial. They were not commonly seen with TDM1. TDM1 is associated with a greater chance to have elevation of liver function tests, as shown here.
可以看到的话 ，TDM1 主要的相关副作用更高一点的是肝功能的损害，而卡贝他滨和拉帕替尼的组合会出现更多的腹泻以及手足综合征。
I think we can go to the next slide. So this cartoon again summarizes the many different strategies that are being developed to improve outcomes for patients with HER2 positive disease. And I'll just perhaps leave this segment by saying that I think we have many reasons to continue to be optimistic that we'll see survival gains as some of these new approaches are developed.
这张图上我们可以就是总结一下关于转移性乳腺癌有了 HER2 突变的 HER2 阳性的时候，我们其实有多种多样的方案可以针对它进行治疗，包括多药的联用以及一些新的治疗方式正在逐渐开展，比如说 TDM1。
So for HER2 negative breast cancer, the drugs that I just mentioned really don't have any role, and we primarily rely on chemotherapy.
对于HER2 阴性的，也就是说是转移性的乳腺癌的患者来说，我们一般来说还是要靠化疗来进行治疗，也就是所谓三阴性的乳腺癌还是依靠化疗作为一线治疗方式。
Next, yeah. There has been a long history of the development of chemotherapy, as shown in this slide. We began exploring combination chemotherapy in the 1960s, largely because combination chemotherapy was successful in curing other advanced cancers, such as some forms of lymphoma. However, combination chemotherapy does not commonly cure metastatic breast cancer, and I think most physicians will use single drugs, one at a time, as opposed to combinations.
这个就是显示了一下，在对于治疗转移性乳腺癌患者，尤其是三阴性乳腺癌患者的话，化疗方案的一个演进过程。在20世纪早期的时候，20世纪中期吧，应该是1960年代开始，我们使用了联合化疗的方案，主要是基于这个淋巴瘤中得到了比较好的结果。但是可惜对于乳腺癌来讲的话，联合化疗方案也是没能起到治愈的作用，所以后面我们又开始逐渐进行单药治疗，然后逐步进行单药治疗的替换过程，来看能否延长对于患者肿瘤的一个控制的时间。
This is a list demonstrating that we have many chemotherapeutic options. This is from the NCCN guidelines. Most regard the anthracyclines, doxorubicin, and epirubicin as amongst the most effective chemotherapeutic agents, with the other most effective class of drugs being the taxanes, paclitaxel and docetaxel.
然后这张表上我们可以看到是 NCCN 指南里面列举的对于三阴性乳腺癌或者是转移性乳腺癌的化疗方案的一个选择。最有效的单药治疗的方案一般是基于阿霉素类，也就是多肉比星、表柔比星之类的，还有另一种是紫杉醇类的，比如说是紫杉醇多西他赛。
And other commonly used chemotherapeutic agents include capecitabine, gemcitabine, vinorelbine, and eribulin.
其他比较常用的单药的化疗方案包括卡培他滨、吉西他滨、长春瑞滨、艾瑞布林等等。
We generally see the greatest benefits and effects early on with first-line chemotherapy, and then with each successive attempt at controlling breast cancer, generally drug resistance can begin to emerge, and the response rates and the time to cancer progression tends to get shorter.
这里我们可以看到，对于乳腺癌治疗来说，往往是一线的化疗方案能够得到的响应率和无基胆生存区更为长一点。比如说一线治疗可能响应率能够达到20%到40%左右，但是在2、3线之后，这个响应率就会逐步的下降，然后无基胆生存期也会逐步的缩短。
So this timeline shows the development of chemotherapeutic drugs for metastatic breast cancer. I want to point out that the most recent chemotherapy drug to be approved for breast cancer, known as eribulin, actually was approved 8 years ago. I think the fact that there has not been another agent approved reflects a shift in our attention away from chemotherapy toward more targeted agents.
这张图上我们可以看到关于乳腺癌治疗的转移性乳腺癌治疗的化疗药物的批准，大概都是在90年代到2000年代初。最近一个被批准的治疗乳腺癌的化疗药物是艾瑞布林，这个是2010年，也就是8年前被批准的。之后我们没有看到其他更多最新被批准的化疗药物，这个就是指示我们对于乳腺癌的治疗实际上已经逐渐步入到了一个靶向药为主的治疗时期。
So I was privileged to lead a trial examining whether the dosing schedule of the very effective drug paclitaxel could have an impact on its effectiveness. And indeed, when this drug was given in a lower weekly dose as compared to a higher every 3 weekly dose, the response rate was significantly higher.
这个是 Seidman 教授他当年领导的一个临床试验的结果，是当时探讨了每周单次使用紫杉醇是否比 每周3次的剂量疗效更为好一些。我们可以看到，在客观缓解率上，我们可以看到，在每周1次使用紫杉醇的时候，实际上是比每周3次使用的疗效更为好一些。
And this was the first trial to show that targeting HER2 with trastuzumab did not improve outcomes for patients whose tumors were HER2 normal, that is not HER2 overexpressing. There was no apparent improvement in progression-free survival or response rate.
那么在这个临床实验里面呢，也是第一次当时证明了，在对于有 HER2 就是没有 HER2 扩增的患者 ，HER2 正常的患者中加入曲头图单抗，实际上对于总生存期和无进展生存期都是没有特别的帮助的。
I think this was the most relevant advantage for patients, that by dosing paclitaxel weekly as opposed to every 3 weeks, it almost doubled the progression-free survival simply by changing the schedule of the drug's administration.
这个是非常重要的一个结果，就是在每周1次使用紫杉醇的时候，无进展生存期是达到了9个月，而每周3次使用紫杉醇的时候，无进展生存期只有5个月。这个是一个非常有意思的结果，就是当时是证明了简单的调整一下用药的剂量和用药的频率，就可以使得患者的无进展生存期大大的延长。
So I just want to be respectful of everyone's time, and I might move a little bit more quickly through some of the next slides to allow some opportunity for questions. There is a second form of paclitaxel, which is a different formulation called nanoparticle albumin-bound paclitaxel, or Abraxane. And this agent has also been approved because it compares favorably to solvent-based paclitaxel in a direct randomized comparative study.
那么这张图上我们显示的就是白蛋白结合型紫杉醇这一类药物对比普通的紫杉醇的话，它是也有更好的疗效。
In this randomized trial, another agent known as ixabepilone, which is a newer chemotherapeutic agent, did not show any benefit for ixabepilone as compared to the 2 paclitaxel products, nanoparticle albumin-bound paclitaxel or solvent-based paclitaxel.
然后这张就是快速提一下，是最新被批准的另外一个叫伊沙皮龙的化疗药物，它对比紫杉醇和白蛋白结合型紫杉醇来讲，其实是没有相对的优势的。
So one interesting, and this is the newest chemotherapeutic agent, is the drug called eribulin. Eribulin actually is a synthesized product that resembles a chemical that comes from a sea sponge found in coral reefs in the Pacific Ocean. The parent compound is known as halocondrin B, and it has a unique effect on structures in the cell called microtubules.
然后这个就是介绍一下最新被批准，大概8年前被批准的这个艾日布林的这一种药物，它是一种新的微管蛋白的靶向抑制剂，然后和一个海绵体生物的一个天然产物有点类似，但实际上是人工合成的。
A large randomized trial known as the Embrace trial compared this agent, eribulin, to treatment of physician's choice in patients who had received from anywhere from 2 to 5 prior chemotherapy treatments for their metastatic breast cancer.
然后这里边就是显示了一个临床试验，对比的是艾日布林和其他就是患者的主治医师选择的这种化疗药物的一个情况。当时这些患者入组的时候都是之前接受了2到5线的化疗。
The most common chemotherapy regimens chosen for patients who were randomized to the treatment physician's choice arm are shown here, and they are consistent with usual practice, vinorelbine, gemcitabine, and capecitabine being the most common.
当时这个患者主治医师选择的这个对比组的化疗方案主要包括了常见的长春瑞宾、吉西他宾、卡贝他宾之类的。
So this trial showed an improvement in overall survival favoring eribulin compared to treatment of physician's choice. I wish I could tell women listening to this webcast that the improvement was 2.5 years, but it was 2.5 months. Still, this is the only demonstration in a third-line setting of chemotherapy for metastatic breast cancer to show that any drug is better than any other drug. So this is a new standard of care for patients who have had often extensive prior therapy.
那么当时的临床实验的结果是显示，艾瑞布林能够延长总生存期中位总生存期大概是2个半月左右。他当然非常希望这个数值是2年半，但是可惜只有2个半月。但这也是唯一目前临床上可以找到的，在患者之前接受过多线化疗之后，仍然有某一种药物，比如说这个艾瑞布林作为一个化疗药物，比其他化疗药物有更多的治疗优势。
I think we can go past this next slide, and this next slide as well, and this next slide as well. Those slides were really there to help us think about whether combination chemotherapy offers any benefit over single agents. And I'll just simply state that for most patients, using one drug at a time seems to be appropriate. For patients who have perhaps more significant extent of disease or symptoms, the use of a combination regimen, which I've represented by these multicolored bars, may make sense as compared to a single agent. And I'll just admit that there's as much art as there is science when oncologists make this decision.
那么这张图上就是大概简单的讲一下，对于转移性乳腺癌来说，我们到底是应该追求多药连用呢，还是比如说是单药使用失败之后再换到下一种单药？对于大多数患者来说，他认为呢，实际上是很多患者是在使用单药治疗就可以，然后如果是出现进展之后再进入到下一线单药治疗。对于某些症状比较严重的患者或者一些急症的患者，可能考虑多药连用也是可以的。他想强调一下，这个其实很多时候我们也没有很多的临床数据来支持，很多时候是根据这个患者的主治医师的一个主观选择。
I think we can skip through this slide. The last two things I really want to talk about, and I recognize we're running a little bit late, but I don't want to leave out triple-negative breast cancer and the use of PARP inhibitors specifically, and then just close with a few comments on genomics and how that will guide our therapy in the future. So about 15 to 20% of breast cancers will lack expression of estrogen receptor, progesterone receptor, and HER2, and we call those so-called triple negative because they lack expression of any one of these three important targets.
我们今天的时间呢是有限，但是我们Seidman 教授也是很想向大家讲完后面剩余的三阴性乳腺癌和 PARP 抑制剂以及基因组学对于乳腺癌治疗的指导。我们现在来快速讲一下三阴性乳腺癌，大概是10%到15%的乳腺癌患者是不表达雌激素受体雌激素和孕激素受体，也不高表达 HER2 的。
We do have promising data that the class of chemotherapy drugs known as platinum compounds can be quite effective in patients with triple-negative breast cancer. A trial called the TNT study showed that a single drug known as carboplatin was similarly effective to docetaxel in patients with triple-negative metastatic breast cancer.
这张图表上我们显示的就是对于三阴性转移性乳腺癌的话，多西他赛和卡铂相比之下的两者的治疗疗效是所差不多的。
And for patients whose breast cancers are associated with a germline mutation in the Brca1 and 2 genes, carboplatin was actually a more effective drug than docetaxel in terms of response rate as well as progression-free survival. So there seems to be an advantage for using platinum compounds in patients with BRCA-related breast cancer.
那么值得一提的就是说，前面我们会看到卡铂和紫杉醇对比的话，对于三阴性乳腺癌的治疗整体上来看是效果差不太多，但是对于 带有 BRCA 这个基因突变的患者来说，我们可以看到卡铂它的治疗的响应率和无进展生存期都是显著延长和提高的。
This busy slide simply illustrates that there are many subtypes of triple-negative breast cancer, some which may be modified in the future by some newer immunotherapies. There are the BRCA-like triple-negative breast cancers. There are those that express what is known as the androgen receptor, for which there are anti-androgen drugs in clinical trials.
这张图上是显示三阴性乳腺癌呢，也是一个可能有多种亚型的一个个体。比如说，有可能有一些三阴性乳腺癌是有比较高的免疫浸润的，所以那么免疫抑制剂在后面可能对它起到疗效。其他的三阴性乳腺癌可能包括比较有 BRCA 基因突变的这一类亚型，那么可能是 PARP 抑制剂对它比较有效。还有一些三阴性乳腺癌呢，实际上可能是有雄激素受体的表达，那么抗雄激素受体的抑制剂也是可能有效的。
So there is a new class of agents that inhibit an enzyme involved in DNA repair. That enzyme is known as PARP, polyadenosine ribose polymerase. And this is an enzyme that is involved in repairing DNA damage.
然后这边讲了一下作为这个 PARP 抑制剂的一个原理，那么它所针对的抑制的分子是 PARP， 这是一个DNA 修复的酶。
There are now, as you can see, many PARP inhibitors that are in clinical trials. One of these agents, olaparib, has already been approved for use in breast cancer, and other agents have come into use for patients with ovarian cancer.
那么目前有大概5种的 PARP 抑制剂已经被批准上市，其中最早的一个是奥拉帕利，目前已经被批准用于转移性乳腺癌了。
My colleague, Dr. Mark Robson, who is chief of the breast medicine service at Memorial Sloan Kettering, reported last year on an important trial known as Olympiad, which compared olaparib versus chemotherapy to patients whose breast cancer was associated with a germline BRCA mutation.
这篇文章是去年2017年新英格兰医学杂志上由今年斯隆凯特林中心的 Robinson 医生提出的关于有 BRCA 突变的同时是 HER2 阴性的转移性乳腺癌，对于这类患者使用奥拉帕尼和化疗对比的一个3期临床实验的结果。
And I'll just take you very quickly through this trial result. Olaparib is an oral agent, and it was compared to chemotherapy of physician's choice, and I've already talked to you about some of these drugs. These are standard chemotherapy drugs for patients with metastatic breast cancer who had a germline BRCA mutation.
这个临床实验的具体细节呢，就是奥拉帕尼，然后是300毫克每天，然后是针对对比的是患者使用的是常规的化疗药物，然后主要的选择的患者群体是带有这个胚系 BRCA 基因突变的。
Next slide. We can skip through this slide and this slide and cut to the main result. The primary endpoint, primary endpoint was progression-free survival. And this single oral agent, this PARP inhibitor, was more effective than chemotherapy in delaying cancer progression by about 3 months.
那么最主要的这个临床数据，这个结果就是显示在无进展生存期上，使用奥拉帕尼的时候可以达到7个月，而使用常规化疗的话只有4.2个月，这个是有显著差异的。
Here I'm just going to summarize by stating that there are some adverse effects that that were more frequent with olaparib, such as nausea and anemia. There were also some side effects that were more common with chemotherapy, such as a lowering of the white blood cell count, for example, or hand-foot syndrome.
那么对比化疗来说，化疗本身我们知道产生溢缺和手术综合征的可能性稍微高一些，但是奥拉帕尼的话，相对来说这些副作用较小，只是恶心、呕吐还有这个贫血的可能性会稍微高一些。
And with respect to more serious side effects that were what we call grade 3 and grade 4, there was certainly much more significant neutropenia with chemotherapy, more anemia with olaparib. That's the lowering of the red blood cells.
然后这个显示的就是更为严重的副作用，那么就是在使用化疗的时候，粒缺就是中性粒细胞缺乏是更为常见，在使用奥拉帕尼的时候，只有贫血的话会稍微常见一些。
There's another trial that has been reported, and I think in the interest of time, we will skip through this, but talazoparib is the other PARP inhibitor that is furthest along in its development, and also compares, as you can see here, quite favorably to chemotherapy. Anti-androgen therapy, you can go forward. Yeah, we can go forward again. Anti-androgen therapies are often used in prostate cancer. The agent called enzalutamide has been studied for triple-negative breast cancers that express androgen receptor. Next slide. And in a report published and presented by my colleague Dr. Tiffany Traina several years ago, this oral anti-androgen agent was shown to improve progression-free survival in patients who had a specific androgen receptor signal in their triple-negative breast cancers.
那么前面我们刚才就略过了几张幻灯片，有一张是提到还有一种最新的一个 PARP 抑制剂，也是在研究是否可以在转移性乳腺癌中进行使用。那么这张图上显示的是这个恩杂鲁胺，这是一个雄激素受体的抑制剂，当时是在几年前的美国临床肿瘤年会上面得以报道，它是相对来说，对于有雄激素受体阳性的患者来说，使用恩杂鲁胺的是在三阴性乳腺癌患者中可以提高无进展生存期。
I will just make one comment. Checkpoint inhibitors or antibodies targeting PD-1 and PD-L1 have really made a major impact in improving survival in some very difficult to treat types of cancers, such as lung cancer and kidney cancer. There is still a lot of work to be done in breast cancer, but I just show this slide to illustrate that immunotherapy is indeed a very active area of research, particularly for triple-negative breast cancer.
那这边我们简单提一下这个免疫检查点抑制剂，就是我们国内熟知的 PD-1 或者 PD-L1 抑制剂，在其他肿瘤中，比如说肺癌啊这些肿瘤中有很好的效用，但是在乳腺癌中呢，我们右边这张图显示的是目前正在积极进行的临床试验，就是说它还在处于一个持续的研究当中。
So I'm going to close with a very futuristic idea on how we will be treating breast cancer in the future. We now can learn more about cancer cells than ever before by doing genomic profiling. At Memorial Sloan Kettering, we have developed our own next generation sequencing platform, which we call MSK Impact, where we can assess gene expression in a very powerful fashion.
最后呢，我们就是简单提一下，在纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心，我们自主研发，就是开发出来一套的一个基因测序平台，可以测很多的跟肿瘤相关的基因突变靶点。
So you can see just this list just demonstrates the many different types of gene alterations that can be captured with MSK Impact testing.
然后我们是这个基因测序的这个靶点是包括了450项基因的分析。
These are the most commonly mutated genes in breast cancer. P53, a tumor suppressor gene, for which currently we have no known therapeutic agent. PI3 kinase, which is commonly mutated in ER-positive breast cancers, for which there are many new targeted therapies. So this is just shows you some of the more frequently mutated genes.
这里面就是列举了跟乳腺癌相关的10大易突变基因，那么潜在的相关治疗包括像是 PI3K 这 kinase 这些激酶的突变，我们有一些新的药物正在临床研究当中。
And finally, this timeline takes us back a few decades to really demonstrate the development of chemotherapeutic agents and other targeted therapies over the past 20 or 30 years in breast cancer.
那么这张图上我们可以看到，在过去20-30年间，从化疗开始，一直到靶向药物，针对转移性乳腺癌的治疗方法是在不断的进展，所以我们有足够的理由对转移性乳腺癌的治疗保持乐观。
And I'd like to close, and I apologize for going over time, with a few thoughts. One is that whenever possible, we should try to use the best available agents to benefit our patients. We also need to work hard in the laboratory to understand the mechanisms of resistance to these drugs in order to develop strategies to overcome this resistance. Increasingly, it's important to define the unique biology of each tumor to determine the biomarkers that can predict response to therapy. It also increasingly to becoming important to understand the germline genetics of the patient as well as the genomics of the tumor. And I think we're going to see this becoming more and more part of standard of care. So at the end of the day, our overarching goal is to deliver the right agent at the right time in the right patient. And I know I've covered a lot of information in this webinar. I hope this information has been useful to you, perhaps in how you might discuss or approach your treatment with your oncologist. And again, I thank you for your attention and appreciate the chance to share this information with you. Thank you.
那么总结一下 Seidman 教授今天的讲座，就是怎么样改善转移性乳腺癌的治疗结果呢？首先是要使用最容易获取的药物，也就是说在当地或者是通过各种手段，就是最容易拿到的药物，这是最早开始使用的，是一个比较有用的是一个比较重要的策略。然后同时我们要积极的研究，在实验室中研究哪些是可能产生抗药机制的一些原理，并且制定一些可能有用的策略，对这些抗药机制进行克服。然后同时我们希望积极的发展生物标记物，来能够预测治疗的一个缓解率。然后同时我们希望更深一步的了解患者的遗传和肿瘤的基因组学的一个相互作用。那总结起来就是说，要对的患者在对的时间使用对的药物。然后我们是稍微抱歉今天讲座时间延长了一些，但是 Seidman 教授也是很希望今天的讲座虽然信息比较多，但是能够帮助到各位患者能够了解到乳腺癌治疗的前沿，同时与你们的主治医师能够进行一些对本身治疗有指导意义的一些讨论。Right, Dr. Seidman, thank you so much. I don't know, do you have a few minutes so we
have
a few
absolutely.
questions from the patients so they would like to ask you directly?
Absolutely.
Oh, actually, okay. So if you have time, that'd be perfect. Let me pull up the questions and we can ask a few ones real quick.
Sure.
There it is. So I think one is relatively interesting. So there's ER/PR positive and also HER2 positive breast cancer patients cannot find the primary foci and planning to do neoadjuvant chemo and then surgery. So is adjuvant radiation necessary, and also what drugs should be used in this situation?
So I'm going to just preface my answer by stating that I will try to make my comments broad and general, and it's perhaps not the most responsible thing for me to try to give advice about a specific patient, but in general, for patients getting neoadjuvant therapy, the decision to give radiation after surgery often depends upon the size of the tumor, the extent of lymph node involvement, both at the time of diagnosis as well as after therapy. Increasingly, with more effective neoadjuvant therapy, patients may achieve what's called a pathological complete response, where all of the disease will disappear. And then, if a patient is having a mastectomy as opposed to breast-conserving surgery, there may be an opportunity to avoid radiation therapy. So the decision to give radiation in that setting depends upon the individual patient and her pathology report.
Thank you, Dr. Seidman. So 这个对于这个患者，我们简单是因为今天时间因素，可能可以问的问题不是很多了。我们问了一个就是一个是一个 ERPR 阳性，然后 HER2 阴性的乳腺癌患者，在找不到原发灶进行化疗后手术的时候，是否进行术后放疗，并且术后是否要进行继续化疗？这个 Seidman 教授的回答就是，至于这类患者呢，主要是考虑到在手术之后拿到这个病理之后，患者的这个肿瘤的大小，包括和淋巴结的侵扰程度，如果是肿瘤比较大，或者是有淋巴结的侵扰的话，目前来说可能是需要进行放疗。然后至于是否需要化疗的话，是要考虑当时在接受术前化疗之后，这个肿瘤的一个病理上的响应程度，这个是根据具体情况具体分析的。然后我们很抱歉，今天的时间因为是已经超时了一点，然后 Seidman 教授他后面也有他今天的临床工作和会议，那我们今天的直播呢就到此为止啊，以后我们 Morehouse 也会继续举办类似的系列活动，把美国医疗的那个最新信息在第一时间传递到国内。我们感谢刘尔妮老师在直播活动中对我们的帮助，然后有任何疑问或者需求的病友可及时同他联系。稍后这次直播的幻灯片包括中文的翻译会经过授权整理之后，以中文总结的形式发到我们的患者群中和大家分享。有需要和 Seidman 医生请求进行远程会诊的患者，可以通过我们 Morehouse 爱医传递的平台和他联系。那么我们的网址就是爱医传递的这个拼音爱医传递 .com。那么在这里谢谢大家今天的参与，也谢谢李园长，然后我替大家谢谢一下 Seidman 教授。我本人简单介绍一下，我就是和 Seidman 教授实际上也是共事的，在斯隆凯特林癌症中心是放疗科的放疗科的住院医生。那么大家今天的讲座就到这里。Dr. Seidman, I think for the sake of time, we will just skip the rest of the questions. It was mainly about some of the side effects of hormonal therapy. But thank you so much for your wonderful presentation today, and looking forward. So we really thank your presentation today from our patients in China, and they would like to learn more from you and other experts from the US in the future, and they seek the chance to do maybe video consultation, seeking second opinion through your service in MSK.
Great, thank you very much. I really appreciate the chance to share the information, and I hope this can be beneficial to your patients.
I'm sure it'll be. Thank you so much. You have a good day.
Thank you.